I've just noticed that more than half the FPL players in my team are differentials, meaning under 10% owned in FPL, and it's been a big reason why I've been able to rise to top 7K in the world. How many differentials are in your team? In this video, we're going to look at why differentials matter, as well as I'm going to give you a pick for a differential in the forward, midfielder, and defender spot to consider for the upcoming game weeks. Welcome to my channel. I'm Femi, your host. Let's jump into it. So the whole view with this differentials versus non-differentials, and we're going to take Haaland out of the equation because he just skewed the data. And it works out quite nicely where we have a 7-on-7 aside team. One team, 7 players who are differentials in my current FPL squad, and then one team that are 7 non-differentials. We'll just call them the regular team. And so the reason why we're doing this is I really wanted to show you how powerful differentials can be to help you rise the ranks, because the biggest part about why they're differentials is no one else has them, right? And so that is the real key to really help you get up the ranks in terms of overall, but also in your mini leagues, is picking players that your other colleagues don't have, right? So that can really help you, as we can all pick the same players essentially in FPL. And I know there's always a lot of views on copying teams. So by picking differentials, you can sort of gain rank and gain an edge over, people that you're playing with, the game with. So let's jump into the first chart, which is going to look at the differential team. And I'm just going to talk about some of these key highlights of my differential team thus far this year. All right, so when looking at the differential team, one note what I did is I just moved Henderson and Leno, who are both differentials. I moved Henderson to the regular team just to make it even, so each team had a goalie. But let's go through the different players on the team right now. So I have Leno in goal, Ballard a defender, lots of defenders as you'll notice, Calafiori, Collins, and Diaz from Man City. And then Szoboszlai, the only midfielder at Liverpool, and DCL, of course, from Leeds. And so across the top, you'll see the different columns in terms of how I'm sort of organizing the data. We have the price, how much they cost, the goals, the number of assists, the bonus points, and total points. So we can get a really good overview of, how they've actually been performing. And so one thing you'll see is I wanted to highlight some of the big things in deep purple so you can see, how they've been performing. So one thing that stands out is Dominic Calvert-Lewin with 10 bonus points. So what that means is obviously he's done extremely well on bonus. And, if he were to be one of your captain choices during his run of 4 goals in 4 games, he's not been in my main team during this time, unfortunately. But, he'd be a good shout because he'd be getting a goal and then with bonus and then the double points for captain. So things to consider there. Another thing is it can help you analyze your team. So for me, I look at Collins. He has 0 goals, 0 assists, and he's 4.9 million. Could I be getting better value from that spot? Most likely. So he also maybe comes into my mind in terms of potential transfers out in the near future. But overall, let's look at the sum and in total what we get out when we look at all their stats and add them all up. So you get an average price for 5.4 million. So that's quite interesting, very cheap and affordable for a lot of players. If we average all the price of the differential team, we have 12 goals as well, 5 assists, 34 bonus points, and a total point score of 421. So overall, I'd say the differential team has done quite nicely, in terms of how much they cost relative to this next team, which is my regular team. So let's take a look at the regular team and see how they differ. Now let's look at the regular team. So in regular team, we have Henderson in goal, Matty Cash in defense, Phil Foden in the midfield, Rogers, who I believe was a differential not too long ago, and people have really gotten him over the 10%. Saka, Semenyo, and Thiago. So this is the regular team, and then we can look at some of the highlights in terms of what the regular team's done. The big thing that jumps out is Thiago's done extremely well. His goals, leading the team with 11, and then the bonus points leading the regular team with 12. Unfortunately, he's a doubt, so we're going to look into potential options and transfer plans a little bit later in this video. But yeah, this is how the regular team is done. And then we look at the average price, which is, as you can see there, 7 million for the regular team, the amount of goals, 26, the assists, 14, the bonus points, a huge amount in 54, and then the total points in 547. So that's how the regular team shakes out. And now, let's take a look at some of the key takeaways from this analysis so you guys can get the best information around differentials and why they're quite valuable. Okay, so when we look at differentials, the whole point of having them is you want to benefit from them. You want to get players that no one else has. And so that's like the first key takeaway. They're cheaper players to get in your squad that other players won't have, thus giving you a huge edge. So, when we did the averages, the average, if the differential team, all the players were averaged out, it's 5.4 million versus the regular team at 7 million. So 1.6 million difference. That's extra funds that can maybe, get you a higher premium in the game, make your midfielder go up to get a better midfielder that could give you more points, who's more of like a star player or a regular player, or you can spread the funds around to, make your team stronger, to maybe improve the bench that, you'll need a bench in terms sometimes a player won't play or they're hurt or injured. So that's the huge advantage. Cheaper players giving you a different, more money to move around to potentially bolster and help your squad. And then, there's this whole view. We just saw it recently, right, with Gameweek 16. For those who went Harry Wilson, for those who went Marcus Tavernier, these also are differential players. Like, getting them into your squad can have a huge impact on your rank right away, right? So having these players can just transform how your team can perform in the short term, before other people get onto them. And I know those players have had a lot of transfers in, or people are thinking of them, but it just gives you that real big edge that you're looking for in the mini league. Because the thing with fantasy, as we all know, we can all pick the same players essentially, right? So you need these edges to really help you continue to rise up the ranks. And then, it just is, a really important thing to have, right? Differentials, because of course, since we can all get to relatively the same players, we need these certain players to stand out to help and improve the squad. Let me know what else you guys think in terms of other, thoughts on the differential piece. But for me, it makes me also look at my team around which players that are maybe in both buckets, the differential bucket and the regular team, that maybe aren't performing that great, that I can switch out to find a better performing asset. So that's it for this section. Now let's jump into the 3 players I think are differentials that you could potentially consider in your squad. And it's going to be one forward, a midfielder, and a defender. Now, I think so many people are talking about this first player in Jared Bowen. He's under 10% owned at 6.5%. He plays for West Ham, and, it does maybe become a little boring in terms of, what his potential output could be, but he's nailed on 90. He's, especially if he's playing as a lone forward, he can really get those opportunities and those bonus point opportunities. I know he's not on penalties, but no player is perfect. And just looking at his, performance over the last couple of years, he's been a very consistent and reliable FPL asset. So he'd be my first guy to look into. And then, the beauty of him is he's easy to get to from Thiago should he be out, as he's at 7.5 million. So Jared Bowen is definitely one that I'm considering and looking at. And then we have in midfielder, this is Morgan Gibbs-White. So Morgan Gibbs-White, I sort of liken him to a Rodgers in that he's a midfielder, around the same price point, very good for assist threat. But if he ever starts scoring more, he's going to become a really good pick because, again, midfielders get those extra points. They get easier into the bonus if they score. And so he is like the talisman at Nottingham Forest. And he's this really good player, having a little bit of a slow start to this season. He's one to watch out for. He's only 3% owned. And I think he could be a good consideration, for those who are not, who are looking for a midfielder in that, under $8 million bracket. And then finally, this is a guy that he's really impressed me from a lot of perspectives because he wasn't on my radar as a pick before, but Mateus Nunes, the defender right back at Man City. He's 1.7% owned as of this recording, and he plays in that Manchester City side who has Donnarumma back there, who is a good goalkeeper. I know he's, let in quite a few goals this season, but he is a good goalkeeper. And Man City, they're just one of the best teams in the league, and they're going to be around for clean sheets always, with that being the case. So Nunez, he could be a good way to get into the Man City defense. I have currently Diaz in my squad, and I know a lot of you guys are looking at O'Reilly, but Nunez may be one to consider if you're looking to go a little bit different to get that edge in terms of points that other FPL managers will not have. Let's now take a look at how the team is lining up for game week 17. So the most likely thing I'm going to do is roll. Although with the Thiago news, it makes me think maybe I should just try and find a way to get to Bowen. The only issue with that being I don't have any funds left in the bank, so we take 2 transfers, and I'm not sure if it's exactly worth it. But let's go into how the team is shaping up. So we have Triple City. We have Diaz, Foden, and Haaland with a captain armband on Haaland. It's very tempting to go with Foden. He's had the double-digit hauls in the last couple of games, but I think it's going to rest on Haaland just because if you get it wrong, it'll be really detrimental to the rank because he's just a little bit more owned. He's like the most owned player in the game than Foden, right? So not sure if it's really worth taking that risk. In terms of the midfield, we have Rodgers, Saka, and Semenyo. I'm really happy with all 3 of these players. They look good. They have good fixtures. And so that's really easy to pick and have them there. And then rounding out in terms of the defense, we have Calafiori, Cash, and Collins, who's on the bench. Calafiori is rested and ready to go. I expect him to slide right back into the starting lineup there. And I'm expecting big things with him alongside Cash. Villa, it's going to be such an interesting game. Probably the most interesting of the weekend for me is looking in to see how Villa does at home against a Man U side that's has Casemiro on yellow card, no Ahmed, no Mbumo, and is a team that you can get at, as evidenced by the 4 goals they allowed at home. So we'll see if my Villa assets in Cash and Rodgers can really produce, because that will be a big reason for me, getting a potential green arrow this week, I can foresee. And then Collins is on the bench right now against Wolves. I think I've been hoping for that goal from a headed goal, but as we saw in the stats in this video, no goals, no assists, not really that type of defender thus far this season. And let me know what you guys are doing in terms of your chips. I still have the free hit chip, so next week most likely I'm going to drop a free hit video, whether to free hit in 18 or 19. So let me know down in the comments if you guys are considering that as well. And now let's take a look at our fixtures for this week and go over some of those highlights in terms of what are the best fixtures to target this week. So when we look at the FPL Green Line in terms of fixtures this week, they say there are 5. I'm going to say there's only really 3. And the best of those in order is Man City at home, of course, to West Ham, Bournemouth at home to Burnley, and then Brentford away to Wolves. Although now with the Thiago news, it makes even that one questionable, because Wolves should feel very confident if Thiago's not playing. A guy who's scored 11 goals this season, they have a good shot to get something out of that game. I think Brighton does face a tough Sunderland side. It's the other green fixture here. They are 8th in the table, Sunderland, two spots ahead of Brighton. So I don't think that's really necessarily a green fixture or a gimme fixture. And then Fulham faces a Nottingham Forest side. That has been very Jekyll and Hyde. And, they've had alternating wins and losses in the last 5. But so you just don't know who's going to turn up. So I wouldn't consider that a green fixture. Let me know who you're thinking of in these fixtures outside of course, Man City assets, because there could be good opportunities here to pick whether that be a differential player or another star player in these fixtures to help you, get a green arrow potentially this week. Now, as we look into our transfer plans, so the most obvious one I already had discussed, Thiago to Bowen. I'd have to downgrade maybe like a Sabazalai, who's playing away to Tottenham to get the funds because I don't have any money in the bank. It's going to take 2 transfers, and it's not necessarily something I really want to do. Potentially what I do is just use my bench, maybe put in Collins against Wolves. Just hope he gets DEFCON. Go with the one forward, which is a little bit, unlike me in terms of having this structure of how like a 4-4-2. But sometimes you need to just like suck it up for a week and just maybe not put out the most optimal team, because I do really want this extra transfer. Because when you use the free hit, what happens is you don't get a transfer for that week, right? So just looking and planning my transfers to the new year, I do want to be in a strongest position. I almost want to have 5 transfers going into the new year, so this would be a way for me to allow to do that. But we'll see what I go to and go with after giving a little bit more thought tomorrow and before the deadline. So that's how the team is lining up transfer plans wise. I like my team overall. I think there's lots of good fixtures, and let's just see if they perform. I encourage you to do that analysis of your team. Look at how many differentials you have. You could find some interesting things there to sort of give you a better edge in terms of who to pick up. And so I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please subscribe and like it below. I have a small channel here, and I'm so happy that you guys have gotten me to over 70 subscribers. I'm looking to get to 100 subscribers before the new year. So if you could subscribe below, it'd help me out a lot. Thanks so much, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.